April is here, which means spring is upon us. April brings a breath of fresh air as the world awakens from the slumber of winter. The days grow longer and nature begins to bloom in vibrant colors, filling the earth with new life. Flowers burst open, birds return to their songs, and there's a sense of renewal in the air. It's a time to embrace the warmth, shed the heaviness of winter, and step into the promise of brighter days ahead. Hello everyone, welcome or welcome back. Welcome if you're new here. My name is Sarah Jane and I am a DC-based YouTuber. I make content about writing and reading, so if that interests you, please be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe because it really helps support my channel. I like to make these monthly reset videos where I reflect on the previous month and then I think about my goals for the next month, and it really just helps reset my day-to-day life on a monthly basis, and I really love it. I feel like it just really is helpful to me. I didn't do one last month because life was a little hectic, but I am now doing one for April, which I'm really excited about. So normally my categories for my resets are like reading, writing, physical fitness, and some overarching life things. I've decided to adjust it just a teeny bit because I am just feeling the need to refresh with spring. So anywho, let's go ahead and get into it. Starting off with writing, because this is a writing channel, I am currently working on draft 3 of Project Crown. Project Crown is my Greek mythological fiction novel about the Amazons. If you're a fan of the world of Wonder Woman, you might enjoy my book. It takes place in the Mascara in ancient Greece, where the Amazons reside. The Amazons are a group of female women warriors who live in a society without men, and we are following the love story of Queen Antiope and King Theseus when he suddenly arrives to the island. March was a good writing month for me. I didn't actually draft many words. I was doing a lot of revision. So with that being said, please keep that in mind. I revised 58,884 words. So it was a good writing month. I'm really, really happy and proud with that, especially because it wasn't the easiest month. I had a lot of stuff going on in my professional job that just kind of got in the way of some of my creative energy, but I was still able to really work on my book, and so that makes me really happy. During the month of March, I hit part 4 of my novel, which my novel is a 4-part book. And that means I have about 25,000 words to go, and I definitely think that I can finish that in the month of April. And I just want to say, I know 58,000 is a lot of words, but when I first started writing Project Crown back in July of 2023, so that's almost 2 years ago, I was re-looking at my word count and I would get maybe 10,000 words a month, and that was a good month. It was closer to 8,000 words. So if you're someone who is maybe having a hard time drafting at the moment, please know that that's totally normal. It is easier now to get through the book faster because I've done a couple drafts. So with all that being said, my writing goals for the month of April are 1, to finish draft 3. So that's 1 last part of the book and 25,000 words left. 2, I'm then going to take a 2-week break from the book so I can step away and go back to it with fresh eyes. And then I'm going to do a reread of draft 3, which is just crazy to say. I don't know if I'll finish actually rereading it in the month of April, but I at least want to start it. And then 3, I want to get draft 3 to 2 to 3 beta readers. I already did a round of beta readers back with draft 2 and I got lots of really great helpful feedback. I really am looking for 3 things with my next round of beta readers. I just want to make sure that I finished all the plot holes, that there's no more plot holes that maybe I'm not thinking about. 2, I want to make sure that I have really satisfying character arcs. And 3, I just want to make sure that the ending wraps up really nicely. And that's kind of what I just want to make sure, because I did do a lot of revision in this current draft based off the 4 beta readers that I had from draft 2. So with that being said, there's just been so many changes. So I just want to make sure that it all just goes together really well. So that is all for my writing goals. I think they're totally achievable and attainable, and I'm very, very excited because it feels like I'm getting that much closer to a finished work that is almost query ready, which is just crazy to say out loud. Next up, let's go into reading. So I am a big reader. I always have been ever since I was a kid. I love to get myself lost into the stories between book pages. As an adult, I'm still really big into reading, and I believe that reading can really help my writing as well. So with that being said, March was not a very good reading month for me. back to what I was kind of saying about lots of stuff going on in my professional life. And so I only actually finished 2 books, whereas normally I finish 4 to 5 books a month. The 2 books I finished were Onyx Storm and The Wedding People. Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros is the 3rd book in the Empyrean series. I rated this 3.75 stars. I loved the first Fourth Wing book. I didn't love the second one, but I had really high hopes for the 3rd one. And the first half of this book was really, really slow. I had a really hard time getting through it. And then the last half, it really picked up and I really enjoyed myself. It took me a month and a half to read the entire book, which is really unlike me. So for that's kind of why I rated it the way that I did. I would still read it if you're like really into that series, but just know that it is a little bit slower in the first half. The second book I read was Wedding People by Alison Espock. So I've seen this book everywhere and I just hadn't picked it up, but then when I was at the library, it was available, so I went ahead and grabbed it. This is a character-driven book instead of a plot-driven book, which is not something I'm normally interested in, but it just had so many good reviews. So the main character is a woman who's going through a divorce. She goes to this really nice hotel because she's gonna off herself, and it ends up being a hotel that's completely filled with guests for a wedding, and she ends up being friends with the bride who stops her from doing that. I loved the juxtaposition between a divorce and a wedding, and I also really loved how the author wrote about grief and how to work through grief. It just felt really organic and it just felt very healing the way it was written. And so if you're interested in that type of book, I totally recommend it. I rated it 4.5 stars. With all that being said, I do really want to get back into reading in the month of April. So I've picked out 3 books that I think really give me spring vibes that I'm really excited to read, because I am very much a seasonal reader. I love to read beach reads, right, in the summer, and like cozy autumnal books in the fall. So these are my 3 spring books that I decided to pick up. The first one is Rules for Visiting by Jessica Frances Kane. As soon as I saw the cover art, I was like, oh my gosh, this looks so completely adorable, and it is endorsed by so many authors. So the protagonist is a gardener, which I already love. I don't really have a green thumb, but I try every single year, and every single year I do get a little bit better. But the protagonist is a gardener. She unexpectedly gets some leave from her work, and so she decides to visit 4 of her old friends who they don't live near each other, and she knows she won't be able to get them all together, so she decides to visit them individually, and she sort of views it as her personal odyssey. The book is supposed to be an exploration of friendship in the digital age, and it's supposed to share the art of visiting, which I really appreciate and I love, because I feel like having human connection is so important and can be really challenging sometimes in the digital age. So I'm very, very excited to read this book. Next up is Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez. And I love Abby Jimenez. I read her Part of Your World series and was obsessed with it. I think she is just such a writer that can just make something feel so magical. So this book is coming out April 1st. I honestly don't even know what it's really about, but the fact that she wrote it, I don't care, because I've loved every single one of her books. The third one is The Favorites by Lane Fargo. So it's not really springy, but it's about ice skating, and I'm an ice skater, so of course I had to pick it up. This book came out in January of this year, so this is a new release. It's described as part Wuthering Heights, which is my favorite classic, and part Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid, which is also one of my favorite books by TJR. So of course when I read that, I was like, I gotta pick this book up. We're following Catherine, who is destined to become an Olympic skater. She meets Heath, a lonely kid stuck in the foster care system, and when they become a duo on the ice, until a shocking incident at the Olympic Games brings their partnership to an end. Dun dun dun. I was just so excited when this book came out. I really wanted to read it, so I actually picked it as my book club book read for this month, which I'm leading. So I'm really excited to read this with my book club and like talk about it with my friends. And yeah, like I love ice skating, and I haven't been able to ice skate because of my foot injury, so I'm really excited to meet up with my coach next week and get back into ice skating. So those are the 3 books that I want to read in the month of April. And I just wanted to give a special little shout out to my new reading companion. Isn't she stunning? We have this beautiful like rose detailing on the front and the back. And then the back says we lose ourselves in the books we read, but we find ourselves there too. This is from an Etsy shop called the Quirky Cup Collective. They have super, super cute reading journals. I have tried 2 other types of reading journals and nothing has ever stuck. And so I decided to pick this one up because it just looks so curated and like thoughtfully made. And I'm hoping this one sticks for me because I love reading and I love, reflecting on the things that I read. And I just have not found a reading journal that really suits and works for me. So if you're looking for a reading journal, this is the one that I got recently. Next category is spring mindset. So when I think of spring, to me, March is a transition month. March is a very cozy spring versus April is a colorful spring, and it's one that I'm very, very excited about. So I just wanted to touch on the mindset that I wanted to have in the month of April and just fully embrace spring. There are 3 things that I fully want to embrace. The first one is I want to go on a lot of walks. I have a dog. Her name is Cider. You've probably seen her in some videos. She is the love of my life. Don't tell my husband. I go on so many walks with her. I love walking with her. But when I had my foot procedure, I couldn't really walk anymore. And it made me realize how much I do enjoy walking and that I kind of take it for granted. And so I want to go on a lot more walks this spring and enjoy nature and just being outside and seeing the flowers bloom and the weather getting warmer. I just want to embrace all of that and not take it for granted. My second spring mindset is journaling. So I've had a journal ever since I was a kid. I've always loved journaling, but back in the day, I would look through my journals and I realized that I was only journaling things that were bad. You would think I did not have a good life. So in the last 6 months, have really started journaling and trying to remember also the good times. And so I journal twice a week. I journal once at the end of the week, of the work week, to think about and reflect on my work week. And then I journal at the end of the weekend to reflect on my weekend. And it has really allowed me to appreciate the life that I live. And that way, when I look back on my journal entries, I'm not just thinking that I, have had these terrible things that I've had to work through by writing. So I picked up this journal while I was in Scotland. This is made from Meridian wool, which is Scottish wool. And I've absolutely loved writing in it. I think picking up a new journal was really helpful to me because I was writing in my old one and it wasn't doing it for me anymore. So I picked up a new journal. I'm already halfway through this one. I'm just obsessed. It's made with really thick paper that doesn't bleed through, and I just find that it's a really great experience. I also print out photos from my weekend, and it just really reminds me of the kind of life that I'm living, and it makes me really appreciate it. In conjunction with journaling, which leads to number 3 of my third mindset, is watercoloring. So I wanted to pick up a new hobby, and I was like, what hobby do I want to pick up? I thought about knitting, I thought about pickleball, and somehow I just kind of ended up on watercolors. So I don't have anything fancy. I just have a little set from Target. It's $5. But I have slowly been watercoloring in the edges of my journal, and it has just made me really happy. There's just something about creating this little piece of art, especially when I flip back and look at it, that just brings me joy. So that is the third mindset thing that I am embracing in the month of April. Last but certainly not least is April movies and TV shows. So I don't watch a ton of TV. I definitely do a little bit because I work in a creative industry and I do need to know what is doing really well in box office in the film. But just in terms of pure enjoyment, at home, I don't really turn it on all the time. I thought I would touch on 2 things that I want to watch in the month of April that just really feel like spring to me. The first one is With Love, Megan. This is Megan. She doesn't call herself Markle. She calls herself Megan Sussex. I don't really know. But Megan, Duchess of Sussex, this is her lifestyle cooking show. She is a very controversial figure. But regardless of what you think of her, I think her show is actually really lovely. I've watched the first couple of episodes already, and her little cakes look delicious, and kind of her mindset towards life is really nice. And so it just screams spring when I'm watching it. She has flowers and plants everywhere and potting and all that kind of stuff. So that one is something that I want to watch. And the other one would be a rewatch for me because I've already watched it, but it would be Bridgerton. I think All the Bridgerton episodes just feel like spring. There's blossoming flowers and bright colors, and I just love it so much. The first 2 seasons are my favorite, and I also really loved Queen Charlotte. So if you are looking for something to get you in the vibe and you haven't watched Bridgerton, totally recommend it as well. Anyways, that's it for my April reset. I feel like I've been yapping forever. I'm just so excited for the month of April. I'm so excited for spring. I'm so excited for warmer weather and to be outside. And it just seemed like the perfect time to do another reset video since I didn't do one last month, and I'm just ready for it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope that maybe it was helpful for you if you were looking for maybe a book to read, or you were trying to think about your own writing goals, or maybe you were trying to think of a spring activity that you want to incorporate as well. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that this video was helpful to you, and if it was, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe because it really does help support my video, and I will see you guys in another one. Bye.